questions about Jane and Anne. Are Jane and Anne overweight?
No, Jane and Anne aren't overweight.
Aren't overweight. Are they slim?
Yes, they're slim.
Yes, they're slim. Are they slim or overweight?
Well, they're slim.
They're slim. Two years ago, were they slim?
No, 2 years ago they were slim.
They weren't slim 2 years ago. 2 years ago, were they slim or overweight?
2 years ago they were overweight.
2 years ago, they were overweight. Are they still overweight now?
No, they aren't. They are no longer overweight.
No, they aren't. Now they're no longer overweight. Did they used to be overweight?
Yes, they used to be overweight.
Yes, that's correct. They used to be overweight.
Yes, that's correct. They used to
when
be
were
overweight.
They overweight?
Well, 2 years ago they were overweight.
They were overweight 2 years ago. Two years ago, were Jane and Anne both overweight?
Yes, that's correct. 2 years ago, Jane and Anne both were overweight.
Yes, that's correct. 2 years ago, Jane and Anne were both overweight. Were they equally overweight?
No, they aren't. No, they weren't.
No,
they weren't
equally
overweight.
overweight.
One of them
was more overweight than the other. Was Anne more overweight than Jane?
No, Anne wasn't overweight than overweight than
Anne
Jane.
wasn't more overweight than Jane. Who was more overweight than the other?
Well, Jane was more overweight than Anne.
Jane was more overweight than Anne. Was Jane a little overweight or very overweight?
Well, Jane was very overweight.
Well, Jane was very overweight. What about Anne? Was Anne a little overweight or very overweight?
Well, Anne was a little overweight.
Anne was a little overweight.
Anne was a little overweight.
Tell me again, who was more overweight than the other?
Well, Jane was more overweight than Anne.
Jane was more overweight than Anne. Is Jane still overweight?
No, Jane is no longer overweight.
No, Jane is no longer overweight. Is Anne still overweight?
Well, Anne is no longer overweight.
No, Anne is no longer overweight. Did Jane and Anne used to be overweight?
Yes, Jane and Anne used to be overweight.
Yes, Jane and Anne used to be overweight. When were they overweight?
They were overweight 2 years ago.
They were overweight 2 years ago. How overweight were they?
Well, Jane was very overweight and Anne was a little overweight.
Jane was very overweight and Anne was a little overweight. Now, I'm going to ask questions about Kay and her brother Tom. When Kay and Tom were little, do they think Superman was real?
No, when Kay and Tom were little, they didn't think the Superman was real.
They didn't think Superman was real when they were little. Who do they think was real when they were little?
They thought the Santa Claus was real when they were little.
When they were little, they thought Santa Claus was real. Did they think zombie was real?
No, they didn't think zombies was real.
No, they did think zombie was real.
No, they didn't think zombies
Who does it
were
think was real?
real. They thought Santa Claus was
They thought
real.
Santa Claus was real. When Tom was a boy, did he have a friend named Nick?
Yes, when Tom was a boy, he had a friend named Nick.
Yes, that's correct. When Tom was a boy, he had a friend named Nick.
Yes, that's correct. When Tom was
What
a
did
boy,
Nick
he had a
tell
friend
him
named
one
Nick.
day?
Well, Nick told him that the Santa Claus wasn't
One day,
real.
Nick told him that Santa
One day.
Claus wasn't real. Did Nick tell him that Superman wasn't real?
No, Nick didn't tell him that Superman was real.
No, Nick didn't tell him that Superman wasn't real. Did Nick tell him that zombies was real?
No, Nick didn't tell him that zombies was real.
No, Nick didn't tell him that zombies weren't real. What did Nick tell him?
Nick told him that Santa Claus wasn't real.
Nick told him that Santa Claus wasn't real. When Tom realized that Santa Claus wasn't real, did he feel angry?
No, when Tom realized that Santa Claus wasn't real, he didn't
No,
feel
that's
angry.
not how we felt. When Tom realized that Santa wasn't real, he didn't feel angry.
No, that's not how he felt.
Did he feel embarrassed?
No, he didn't feel embarrassed.
No, he didn't feel embarrassed. How did he feel?
Well, he felt surprised and sad at the same
He
time.
felt surprised and sad at the same time. Who was surprised and sad at the same time?
Well, it was Tom. Tom was surprised
It
and
was
sad
Tom.
at the same
Tom was
time.
surprised and sad at the same time. When Tom got home that day, what did he do?
When Tom got home that day, he told Kate that Santa didn't actually exist.
When Tom got home that day, he told Kate that Santa didn't actually exist. Did he tell Kate that their parents were sick?
No, he didn't tell Kate that their parents were sick.
No, he didn't tell Kate that their parents were sick. Did he tell Kate that ghosts didn't actually exist?
No, he didn't tell Kate that the ghost didn't actually exist.
No, he didn't tell Kate that ghosts didn't actually exist. What did he tell Kate?
He told Kate that Santa didn't actually exist.
He told Kate that Santa didn't actually exist. When Kate realized that Santa didn't exist, did she laugh?
No, when Kate realized the Santa didn't exist, she didn't laugh.
No, Kate did laugh when she realized that Santa didn't exist. What happened when she realized that Santa didn't exist?
When she realized the Santa didn't exist, she
When she
cried
realized
for
that
almost
Santa
an
didn't
hour.
exist, she cried for almost an hour. Does she cry for just a few minutes?
No, she didn't cry for just a few minutes.
No, she didn't cry for just a few minutes. How long did she cry?
She cried for almost an hour.
She cried for almost an hour. Was it Tom who cried for almost an hour?
No, It wasn't Tom who cried for almost an hour.
No, it wasn't Tom who cried for almost an hour. Who cried for almost an hour?
Well, it was Kate. Kate cried for almost an hour.
It was Kate. Kate cried for almost an hour. Now, I'm going to ask questions about two sisters named Grace and Emma. Do Grace and Emma have pets?
Yes, Grace and Emma have pets.
Yes, Grace and Emma have pets. Are their pets dogs?
No, their pets aren't dogs.
No, their pets aren't dogs. Are their pets cats?
No, their pets aren't cats.
No, their pets aren't cats. What kind of animal are their pets?
Their pets are spiders.
Their pets are spiders. How many spiders do they have?
They have 3 spiders.
They have 3 spiders. Do they think their spiders are scary?
No, they don't think the spiders their spiders
No, they don't think their spiders are scary.
are scary.
What do they think about their spiders?
They think their spiders are cute.
They think their spiders are cute. When Grace and Emma were young, were they afraid of birds?
No, when Grace and Emma were young, they were afraid of birds.
They weren't afraid of birds when they were young. Were they afraid of dogs?
No, they were afraid of dogs.
No, they weren't afraid of dogs. What were they afraid of?
They were afraid of spiders.
They were afraid of spiders. When they were young, did they think spiders were cute?
No, when they were young, they didn't think the spiders were cute.
They didn't think spiders were cute when they were young. Did they think spiders were interesting?
No, they didn't think the spiders were interesting.
No, they didn't think spiders were interesting. What did they think about spiders?
They thought the spiders were really scary.
They thought spiders were really scary. Who thought spiders were scary?
Grace and Emma thought the spiders were
Grace and Emma
scary.
thought spiders were scary. Did Grace and Emma watch a cartoon one day?
Yes, Grace and Emma watched the cartoon one day.
Yes, they did. Grace and Emma watched a cartoon one day. Was the cartoon about dogs?
No, the cartoon wasn't about dogs.
No, the cartoon wasn't about dogs. Was the cartoon about cats?
No, the cartoon wasn't about cats.
No, the cartoon wasn't about cats either. What was the cartoon about?
The cartoon was about
spiders. Were there spiders in the cartoon?
Yes, there were spiders in the cartoon.
Yes, there were spiders in a cartoon. While watching the cartoon, did they feel bored?
While watching the cartoon, they didn't feel bored.
No, they didn't feel bored while watching the cartoon. Was the cartoon boring?
No, the cartoon wasn't boring.
No, the cartoon wasn't boring. Was the cartoon funny?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes,
the cartoon
was
very
funny. Was the spiders in the cartoon scary?
No, the cartoon wasn't scary.
No, the spiders in the cartoon weren't scary.
No, the spiders in the cartoon wasn't
Were the spiders
scary.
in the cartoon cute?
Yes, that's right. The spiders
in the cartoon were
cute.
Before they watched the cartoon, were they afraid of spiders?
Yes, before they watched the cartoon, they were afraid
Yes,
of
that's
spiders.
correct. Before they watched the cartoon, they were afraid of spiders. What happened after they watched the cartoon?
After they watched the cartoon, their fear of spiders was completely gone.
After they watched the cartoon, the fear of spider was completely gone.
Completely gone.
After they watched the cartoon, were they still afraid of spiders?
No, after they watched the cartoon, they were no longer afraid of spiders.
After they watched the cartoon, they were no longer afraid of spiders. Was the fear of spiders completely gone?
Yes, their fear of spiders was completely gone.
Yes, that's correct. The fear of spiders was completely gone.